Welcome to Profit Talks. I'm Profit. Today's Sunday, May 24th, 2026. And by all accounts, it's a beautiful day. As you see by the title, today we'll cover mostly Iran and the recent developments around peace proposals and the MOU. But also we'll take a look at Cuba, we'll take a look at some of the consequences of the Trump and Xi meeting, and we'll also do an update on the UK politics and the situations developing there. So it's looking to be quite a busy episode, and as usual, I will just go through prediction markets and try to put all the news that we had during this week into context and try to understand and try to show you what is really important and what news is not really something you should trust. I think the prediction markets in general are a great tool if you don't want to really pay attention to what is going on a daily basis, but just check it out from time to time to see where we stand. I think just a simple glance at what is possible and what is happening is a lot easier than trying to understand what kind of narratives are being played. So that's it when it comes to introduction. Let's take a look at the markets and see where we are. So, starting with US x Iran permanent peace deal. As you can see, and as you've probably heard, we have quite a development. So, only yesterday, peace was trading at 16 cents. And during the last 24 hours, we had plenty of news around US and Iran being really close to a deal. At some point, the prices here reached 70 cents, as many people believe that a deal is imminent. But since then, there are some doubts, and since we have no progress at all, people start to get worried that this is in fact yet another tackle by Trump. But let's go like piece by piece and try to understand what's going on. So first of all, when you look at this market, you need to understand that this is about a permanent peace deal. And what it means is that basically when you look at the rules here, so the rules, this agreement needs to be like signed by US and Iran, obviously, but what it needs really is to state explicitly that military hostilities between the United States and Iran have ended or will permanently cease, or use any equivalent language clearly signaling a lasting end to military hostilities between the US and Iran. So what we do have now on the table is a very watered down MOU, so a memorandum of understanding. What it means basically is what Trump usually does, which is just get a quick deal, quick and easy, put there anything that both parties are able to agree on at the moment, and push all the other important and most consequential clauses and issues to resolve in a phase two. So this is what happened with Gaza, for example. So the peace deal was announced, it was signed, there is a board of peace. But since then, it was early October. Now we have almost June, so we are, 8 months? It's been 8 months since the peace agreement was signed, and we are still on phase one. So phase one was just return of hostages and end of hostilities. Phase two was supposed to start some kind of a reconstruction of Gaza, and we are nowhere there because ultimately Israel, the US, Palestine, Gaza, all have different things in mind when it comes to, for example, governance of the Strip and on the whole Palestinian country. So, as you see, Trump really likes to just announce a deal, sign something which is easy, and just move on and forget about the issue. And that's why we have the MOU here. And what's important is that it's been floated and mentioned multiple times now that the MOU will set deadlines on the So the deadline to negotiate the Strait of Hormuz issue, and another deadline, supposedly a longer one, to discuss the nuclear issue. And the worry here is that even if this MOU is announced and signed, it wouldn't really have the appropriate wording to resolve this market to yes. So we will have a clause saying there is a permanent end to hostilities, because just as well Trump can use this MOU as another like stick in the negotiations. So say, okay, we won't fight for the next 30 to 60 days. We'll negotiate what we need to negotiate, but if we fail to reach an agreement, the war is back on. So if Trump decides to use this MOU as a stick in the negotiations, then this market would resolve to no. We have another market on the ceasefire being extended or sustained throughout multiple strike dates. So these markets should pretty safely resolve to no even if we don't get an agreement, honestly, because like one market is on ceasefire being sustained, the other one is on the ceasefire being officially extended. So the former one will just resolve because there won't be a return to hostilities. The other one would resolve with any MOU because this is by design an extension of a ceasefire. But this market is more complicated because it will require also Trump explicitly claiming he doesn't want to return to war, even though he could in the future. But what really is happening here, and the whole drop and the uncertainty here, as you can see when go on a daily view, there's like a bit of trading up and down. We are at like 38 cents. We are briefly at 28, so a 10-cent drop. Now we are back to 39. So traders are pretty unsure about what to think, and this is the main risk that is trading here right now. So if you look at this market and try to think if we get peace or not, it's not exactly about that. I would say a lot better way to think about it would be to go and see either the ceasefire market, so this is purely if you're concerned with hostilities, or the Strait of Hormuz market. So let me just type it up quickly. Traffic normalization. So as you see, by the end of May, this is almost impossible. We had a slight roller coaster here, but ultimately we are at 12 cents. So this is close to impossible, even if we achieve peace. This is simply because traffic normalization is 60 ships for at least 7 days crossing the strait. So that's close to impossible. But when we look at June, you see there's a lot better chance that we will see some sustained movement through the Strait of Hormuz. 60 ships is still a lot below normal traffic. Normal traffic is generally above 100 ships a day. But it's a clear indication that the situation is changed, right? Because currently we have like a few boats crossing every day. They either go through the Iranian procedure, or they just go straight through the strait and try to avoid the mines and military response from either Iran or the US. But this is a good indication that traders do in fact believe that we will see an MOU. Because as you see here, there's 59% chance we will see traffic normalization, and when we go back here, there is only 51% chance we'll get permanent peace. So there is really a premium or a discount, a premium on the Strait of Hormuz market and a discount on this market, just because there is this concern with wording. But just to sum it up a bit, because that's the whole segment on Iran, what we clearly see is that this time, at least, the rumors are true. At least that's what traders believe. Like previously on this market, we reached like 52 cents at the end of April, when there was the then we also thought we are very close to a deal. So this market only reached 52%. As you can see now, we were closer to 70%. So definitely traders do see this rumor as more truthful. Just a sip of water, and we're back on. Another market I wanted to show you is Iran closes its airspace by like end of May, end of June, whatever. But there was a very interesting situation on this market because a few days ago, Iran issued an update to the previous notice to airmen, so NOTAM. And market didn't really pay attention because some profiles on X just copied it and said that Iran is closing its entire airspace. As you can see, the market went to 99.3 cents or even 0.5, 0.6. So it was pretty much in the bond territory. So what it means being in a bond territory is that the traders consider the market to be, the rules of the market to be satisfied in either direction, and they just pile on and buy very expensive shares above 99 cents just to collect this small profit in a few days that the market takes to resolve. Even you can see that here on all markets we have that they're in review, which means that someone proposed this market to yes, it was disputed twice, and now there is a final review. So what happened here is that this update in fact didn't restrict the airspace. It in fact freed one more airport to operate. So when the traders realized that this is in fact not enough to resolve the market, quite the contrary, the price dropped dramatically, and we are pretty much at the levels we've been before. So this is like a careful story I wanted to tell you and show you that not only there are plenty opportunities on Polymarket if you really follow the events and you have deep knowledge about how the world works, but also that you need to be careful when you just use Polymarket as an information source, because there happens like mistakes like that happen from time to time. And someone going yesterday on the site and seeing that the airspace is closed may have thought that we might be close to the return of hostilities. And the reality is much different. We are now very close to a peace deal. So just a cautionary tale. All right. We are dropping now the Iran situation. I think I covered that pretty extensively. If you want to read a bit more about how the situation plays out, what kind of deal is possible, if we get a deal, I wrote a deep dive piece this week on my Substack on prophetnotes.com. So if you are really interested in this topic or in geopolitics in general, take a look, and I bet you will be satisfied, as this is quite a long research piece. All right, so last week I've talked about the Trump-Xi meeting, and that has been quite disappointing, as really nothing of significance was reached. There was no deal, no announcement. There was just like a US-China Board of Trade and Investment announced, and that's pretty much it. So everyone expected big business deals, some clarity on the rare earth minerals situation, and possibly some steps forward when it comes to the tariff war, so the trade war. We got nothing like that. But what we did get, and market was really surprised to see that, is that we saw Taiwan arms sales halt. As you can see, even on Friday morning, this was trading at 0.9 cents because it was extremely close to the resolution date. And then out of the blue, Trump halted Taiwan arms sales, supposedly because he wants to have enough weapons to go at Iran and whatever else there is in mind. But it was still a surprising development. I think it's a It's a pretty big win for Xi coming out of the summit, as Taiwan issue is very delicate in China. They really are not looking to actually invade the island because that's difficult and very resource heavy and has plenty of global consequences. But what they would love to see is Taiwan gradually getting closer to China and at some point becoming probably a special economic zone like Hong Kong is. And no arms sales by the US to Taiwan would surely bring the situation closer to reality, as looking for defense and looking for like stability and peace, Taiwan would slowly but surely drift towards China. There will be some like bumps on the road, and it will take years, even decades. But that's the preferred route, and even if the Taiwan arms sales is a coincidence, because clearly traders didn't expect that, this is actually a very good optics for China, for Xi coming out of the meeting, and it will be really interesting to see what comes out of it in the future. If we would see another sale somewhere down the line, like in a few months, or it will be a first halt that would translate into a more permanent situation. So this is definitely something to watch. Very interesting development. I hope we'll see some more markets about the U.S.-Taiwan relations and and Taiwan-China relations, as probably coming into 2027 and 2028, this will get a lot more attention. Okay, coming next is Cuba. As you can see, we are quite busy when it comes to foreign affairs. So Cuba is, well, it's a shit show. So the country or the island is under a total blockade. There is almost no electricity, almost no fuel, so no oil. The situation is quite dramatic. I would say for sure there are some food shortages. People are generally struggling, and it is expected that the U.S. Does something very soon. Like it will be quite damaging for the US, for Trump, generally for the entire Western world, if everyone just allowed the US to slowly, like, basically kill the citizens of Cuba. Because if the blockade is just sustained and there is nothing else happening, what will happen eventually is people will die out of hunger, and there will be riots, and we will have pretty much another Haiti, but even worse. So something did actually happen in Cuba. We had several markets now on a US and Cuba diplomatic meeting. So as you see here, this market is new because we already had two meetings. The first time it was Ratcliffe, the director of the CIA, who met with some representatives of the regime. We didn't really have a lot of details when it comes to the conversation they held, but we can expect that there's some kind of negotiation taking place to sign some kind of an agreement. Then we also had another meeting. Some diplomat from the US also met with the Cubans. We also don't really know what's been discussed. And seemingly there is also increased military presence around Cuba. So what we can see on this market is quite interesting, because in March, when the whole situation started, so the blockade, there is a pretty high expectations that soon a deal will be reached. So what traders imagined is probably a situation that is quite similar to what we have in Venezuela. So there is no regime change operation, no multi-month or even multi-year military operation, democracy building, the kind of things we saw in the Middle East under previous presidents. What people expect was a Venezuela type situation, when there is a new head of state announced, because the previous one is obviously associated with all the bad things that happened. But the overall regime structure remains intact. And the main difference is that the country starts to cooperate somehow with the US. It seems quite easy, and it was quite obvious to a lot of people that Cuba stands no chance against the US, and even a simple blockade, considering the country is hungry for oil, and the main trading partner when it comes to oil was in fact Venezuela. So taking like all of that into the mix, there was a really high expectation we'll see a quick and easy deal being done in the next few months. But pretty soon it started to dawn on people and traders that there is no progress. So the situation in Cuba deteriorated, and there was no diplomatic meeting, no real mention of Cuba because everyone was busy with Iran. So the prices fell from like almost 70 cents down to 14 cents at some point. Then they recovered a bit on no news at all, and fell again because the strike date of end of June was coming closer, and it's still expected that official negotiation take at least a few weeks to be done. But then we had two diplomatic meetings. So after the first one, the chances went really up, but after the second one, with no progress in sight, the chances collapse as well. So what do traders think here is that it's not necessarily that there is too little time, because over a month is plenty of time to reach an economic deal, especially when we consider the Trump style. So do a very quick, very simple, very watered down deal and figure all the important stuff later, which is tragic when it comes to like everything, but it's good for the optics. So if you ever worked in like if your work requires you to do deals, you know very well that those clauses that get the most discussion are the most negotiated, are usually the most important ones, and the ones that and without them the actual, be it partnership, a merger, or whatever, cannot actually move forward. So yeah, that's awful when it comes to working on such an arrangement. But this is Trump's preferred way, so that's it. So even with this very watered down type of deal that everyone is considering anyway, the chances of an economic deal between US and Cuba are now at 18 cents, which is crazy low. But when we look at the strike market, this is where things start to get really interesting, because as the deal market has been going down, the strike market has been going up. So as you see here, when there was a strike on Iran, the market went up because Trump kind of proved to everyone that he's not afraid to use military force, even in a very difficult situation. Then the chances were pretty stabilized at like low to high 30s. But ever since those diplomatic meetings started to take place and there was no news on any progress when it comes to the deal, traders started to assume that it must be strikes then. So usually what happens when there is progress is that politicians try to cautiously but clearly indicate that something has been achieved. It's always a good look when a politician or an administration can achieve something, even if it's just part of the negotiations. So they usually boast about it. We didn't really hear anything serious, so the chances just went up. The move here very recently is also associated with the long weekend in the US. There was an expectations of strikes just because Donald Trump resigned from going to his son's wedding. So everyone just thought he would be busy striking someone, be it Iran or Cuba. But anyway, we are still at almost a coin flip chance when the deal chances are very, very low. So what this market and those two markets in connection tells us is that slowly but surely we are moving towards a military solution to Cuba versus a diplomatic solution to Cuba. It can be a very short one, just like in Venezuela, but obviously not everything goes according to the plan, and we might end up with a pretty longer quagmire in Cuba. In no way I think Cuba is comparable to Iran, which has a lot of advanced weapons, but still, we heard several different stories before. For example, the pay of pigs, which didn't really work out as everyone expected, and it was quite a humiliation for the US. So nothing's a given. But what I wanted to highlight here is that those two markets in connection start to show us that the military solution is now the most likely one. Yeah, and the market and diplomatic meeting, just to wrap things up, there's still expectation that we'll see another round of meeting, maybe even a few more meetings, because even with a few days till the end of May, there is 24% chance we'll see one, and when it comes to end of June, there is over 60% chance we will see one. So I would say before there are any strikes or any military action, we will get at least one meeting. All right. I think that's it when it comes to foreign affairs, foreign policy, geopolitical stuff. I have two more topics I wanted to cover. One is the midterms, and the other is the situation in UK politics. So let's just finish off the US and all the different stuff they're involved in, and move to UK. So I didn't really start trading the midterms yet. I know there are a few primaries here and there, and some of them have very surprising results. We had Paxton in Texas winning his primary. We also have Thomas Massey in Kentucky losing his, very surprisingly for some. And also we had this whole story with gerrymandering and the fight for congressional maps. So while all this stuff is happening in the background, it's quite interesting because the expectation of the market is that we'll see a Democrat sweep. So for those of you who are not really into US politics, what happens in the midterms is that 1/3 of Congress is being voted in. Every 2 years there are partial election to Congress, so it's always dynamic, always changing. In most other countries, there's one single election for the parliament, and that's it. In the US, the election cycle basically never ends, and every 2 years, 1/3 of the Congress is elected for 6 years. So, what can happen during these midterms is that Trump can actually lose Congress, because now both in the House and the Senate there are Republicans. There's a slight majority in both. And those midterms are really important because Trump is obviously controversial, even more so than during his first term. And if he manages to lose both the House and the Senate, then the situation for him may become really difficult really fast. Democrats will obviously try to impeach him. It's still a question whether they succeed or not, even if they sweep both the Senate and the House. But he'll have a lot less leeway when it comes to his actions. The Congress will be way more motivated to actually try and restrain him. So what I think the Republicans are aiming to do is try to lose as little seats as possible in the House, but I think they're quite aware they won't be able to actually win the House, because there's only two. Combined, there is 21% chance they will win the House. But what they will try to do and love to do is to actually have the Senate, because the Senate is the more senior, more important body, and keeping the Senate actually would be a lot easier. Keeping the Senate would make it a lot easier for Trump to just continue doing what he's doing. He would lose the House, but in the totality of the changes, it wouldn't be such a bad defeat. Especially since historically, presidents lost almost always the House, and I think more often than not, they also lost the Senate, at least in recent history. It usually happens like that because during the campaign there is a big push to really push the president ahead. Then he wins. Usually the House and the Senate follow. And then during the midterms, there is this realization that this president didn't in fact change what he promised to change, and there is like a scale back and going into the more balanced type of situation. But what is really interesting here that even though most analysts say that Republican Senate is pretty safe, traders have been saying that it's in fact not safe at all, pretty much since early March. So what traders understand here, and what most people don't, and most analysts don't, is that Iran war, whether it ends tomorrow or it ends in 2 months, will have adverse consequences for the US as well. There won't be any kind of shortage of either oil, gas, or food, but considering how interconnected the global economy is, we will see rising inflation. We already see relatively high gas prices in the US, and this will like ripple into and translate into higher prices across every product and service category, because everyone depends on energy. So traders here realize very early that the war which is happening halfway across the globe will in fact affect a lot of the voters that are also against any kind of war, like at least the Republican voters. So they see two effects here. One effect is that the Republican voters will be demotivated and they just wouldn't go and wouldn't vote because they will feel betrayed, and they will feel that the inflation is actually making things worse for them, when in fact Trump promised to end inflation. And on the other side, the Democrats will feel that they really need to go out and vote just to try and save the country. So there'll be like a big campaign move to activate those voters and tell them that they can actually make a difference. So this trend was identified in March, and this has been going pretty much like that ever since. So we are now at 46% chance of a Democrat sweep, only 33% chance of a Republican Senate and Democratic House, and 19% of Republican sweep, which is crazy high if you ask me. I don't think Republicans will be able to win the House. I think there's a fair chance they will keep the Senate, but I think the House is lost completely. So yeah, I will be trying to feature the midterms more and more as we are getting closer to the actual election, as I think like they will be extremely important when it comes to like how US politics looks like into the final 2 years of Trump presidency. Okay, so let's wrap it up with UK politics and what we saw here. So last week I told you that Keir Starmer is on his way out, and that the market is very volatile, but generally thinks and has thought for a long time that he will be off pretty soon. Oh, I was just scrolling the order book. So as you see, like his chances of going out by the end of, let's look at by the end of the year, were pretty much above 50% since since end of last year. So what we had now is that after West Streeting left and generally a few other cabinet members urged him to resign, he somehow managed to still clinch to his job. But the main thing here is that it's not that he came out of the crisis stronger, or he managed to really eradicate his opponents. I think the real situation here, and why the end of May prices really dropped off a cliff, is that it's Andy Burnham, the current mayor of Manchester, who is considered to be the main favorite to take his job. But the main problem with Andy is that he cannot be the prime minister as long as he's a mayor of Manchester. So there is a by-election at the end of June, and Andy Burnham is actually is actually in the race, and chances are he will win. So I would say what happens on this market, so May market and June market, which collapsed quite a lot. As you can see, there's been also a lot of volatility as West Trading went out and there were calls to resign. But ultimately, the market really went down, and I think what happened here is that traders realized that if Andy Burnham is the favorite to take over the job, then this transition will probably happen during like July, August, or even September. So obviously the short-term chances needed to drop a lot because there is no like a serious contender that is actually campaigning to get the job. There is this expectation that Andy Burnham is the next is the most favorite candidate. So the like when you add 2+2, you get the next prime minister after June. So that's the update on UK politics. I think the next month or so will be interesting, but I don't think we'll get quite a lot of calls on Starmer to resign, as I think there is some kind of understanding between everyone in the UK politics that any kind of transition can only take place after the by-election, which is at the end of June. So that's all. There are like plenty more markets I could show you because this has been quite a wild week. We had a lot of volatility on prediction markets, and generally in the last few months there's been way more volatility than what we've seen in the previous years. But I don't want this video to get like, too long, so I just try to take the most important events that are happening worldwide and just put them in context. So if you like the video, leave that thumbs up button, click that subscribe button, it helps the content to spread. If you want to read more about prediction markets and especially political markets, then you should go on my Substack on profitnotes.com or on my X, Profit Notes, where I comment on a daily basis on what's happening on the markets and what's happening in the world. So thank you for watching, and see you next week.